Hey everyone, I'm Oliver Chavez Bergeron.
And I'm Sophia Santos, and we're proud to show you our senior capstone game, All Cielo. Now we'll be showing you some gameplay footage. Thank you again to our entire team for helping us produce this game, along with the Kresge College Reyna Grande Scholarship for the generous award. I hope you enjoy! I love this stuffy. This was one of the first things I made for this game.
Yeah, item interaction and item combination really is like the heart of our gameplay.
I'm pretty sure the helmet is like what got us started and like what drove this game.
Yeah, so reaching under the bed was sort of the first example we have of like physically having to move your body through gameplay. Being a VR game, we wanted to have like a meaningful connection with the physical space, and you know it's a lot less static of an experience than would be behind a controller.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure very early on that like everything we did in this game, there was a reason that it would be in VR because it took so long to develop and there were so many challenges that like if we were making this a VR game that was just a skin of like a first person game, it wouldn't make any sense for us. Yeah, and thank you, Jose, for helping out with a lot of our 2D assets. Just amazing work with some of these helpful hints and doodles. Nice, so we've put on the helmet. There's a little check box there. And now we can see the rest of the house. Thank you, Oliver, for working so hard on the house, on the textures and everything like that. It really turned out so nice.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, these family portraits were so much fun to work on. And I loved exploring like what kind of family dynamic that they might have, and even if it doesn't show in the game, I hope it shows through some of these like little details.
Yeah, environmental storytelling is something that I think we've done masterfully with this game, and yeah, every crevice, every nook and cranny really does feel like it kind of tells a story.
Yeah, or at least the parts that we got to. Yeah.
Going back to our physics-based item system, like it's really interesting when you pick up something like a pan and it really does feel like a pan. Um, Sounds kind of silly, but like when you have to maneuver heavy objects and interact with the world in a way that feels like you're actually touching things, where when you're in a world that feels tangible, it's a really cool experience.
Thank you, Victor, for this amazing robot toy, and for a lot of the other props in this house. Just amazing work. Everyone who worked on this team did amazing. And we have to attribute a lot of the interesting physics and a lot of the cool the cool item interaction to our programmers, Ismail and Daniel. Yeah, so like there were certain things about this rocket that were hard to design, and most of them having to do with the kinds of objects that a kid would find useful on a rocket, right? So we had to kind of think of objects that can be used in a rocket-like manner, but aren't things like engine or like fire that a kid would not normally interact with. So we came up with this idea in one of our level design meetings to just make like these soda bottles, the thrusters of the rocket, because like in Chicken Little, when you're when you shake a soda bottle, it like explodes and has a lot of forward momentum, and we're like, yeah, those are gonna be the rocket thrusters. So some of our items are really silly like that, or would only make sense to a kid.
The goal of this shed was to have the player try and use their body as a physics puzzle. For the most part, everything has been related to trying to move the object around, whereas with this, we wanted to work with the actual force behind the player's hands.
You have to think of things as how you would in real life. Like, how can I put my body weight on this to move it? How can I most usefully, position my hand and whatnot? Doing something as elementary is moving a board in real life is something that we're almost instinctively able to do, but through VR it becomes this like new kind of challenge. Like, how can I move something that is this heavy when I have, a quarter of the strength necessary to move it? You'll find yourself propping up objects against furniture, or in this case, the fence, just to have, a faint chance of being able to move this thing. And with one press of that red button, that concludes our playthrough of Cielo. We hope you enjoyed it, and we had an amazing time working on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so to wind things back a little bit, I'm originally from Tijuana, Mexico, and throughout my upbringing, I derived a lot of my entertainment from building things and cobbling things together. I wanted to bring this sense of interaction and creativity into the game world, and in doing so, I felt like it was really necessary for this to be a VR experience.
As a medium, VR is a very tactile, physically connected experience.
In our early stages, we spent a lot of time thinking, how is the player going to interact with this world? It was imperative that we try and culturally connect the player with the mechanics of VR.
I remember when Oliver had first pitched me the idea, and immediately I was thinking about what kind of team would be best suited to make this kind of game. And that would be able to make sure that we stuck to our core ideas about respectfully and meaningfully displaying a culture. Additionally, we sought out some sensitivity readers to review our work, tell us how they experienced the culture and how we could better represent them. We knew that it was a good idea to be selective and search for the right kinds of people for this project when we asked critical questions like, does this belong here? Is this plausible in the world? And people would come back with research and evidence and documentation backing up some of the ideas that we had or contradicting them and telling us that we were wrong.
The basis of this research was a small region in Zacatecas, Mexico. The location lies at the transition between two biomes, a desert to the south and a more temperate region to the north. Tonally, it was ambiguous enough that it felt like a prime place for us to use, because it didn't confine us to any specific climate or any of the aesthetic or mechanical expectations of one. The first moment I realized that I'd really nailed it with the aesthetic of our game was with the material design. My proudest achievement was actually the paint.
Yeah, because that material you use literally everywhere.
I derived a lot from how I remember things growing up, how the walls felt and looked, and with something like Substance Painter, it was really helpful that I could quantify things that I remember from my childhood, the physical roughness of the walls, the way that the paint looked under light. And in all, it creates this space that is truly indistinguishable from my grandmother's. When I looked at it in-game for the first time, it made me realize that this was actually a place. It was a place that was familiar to me, and I know for sure familiar to a lot of people.
The parts of our game that are more childlike and imaginative are actually mostly game meta, as in things that function as part of the game and not necessarily as part of the world that we were trying to create within the game. And I think that really hits where we were trying to go with the idea that this child doesn't view things the same way that other people do. And this helmet, this rocket, all of the things that live in this child's imagination can coexist in the adult world that he lives in.
As silly as it is, one of the moments that I really knew that we'd made something special was when my mom, who hasn't played a game since Miss Pac-Man, said, "Oh wow, that looks like Puebla," when she saw our game. We sought to make a culturally informed game, one that people could see themselves in, and one that was an honest interpretation of a culture outside of the norm of what you'd expect in gaming. We accomplished this with flying colors, and I'm so immensely proud and happy to have worked with everyone else on this team.
Yeah, we definitely did it. And even if this isn't necessarily your culture, it's an experience that you can find familiar and you'll find welcoming, which is exactly what we wanted to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All Cielo is available for download today at al-cielo.itch.io. Have fun!